Hi, and welcome to another video in this series. Last video, we went over web application scanners. Now we're going to go to infrastructure vulnerability scanners. And in this particular video, we're going to take a look at Nessus. It's a vulnerability scanning platform that you'll see here in a second. I'm actually on the uh, wrong server, but it is used by a lot of different cyber professionals, right? Mainly security analysts to mostly scan vulnerabilities, obviously, right? Um, it just prevents network attacks by identifying vulnerabilities and other issues that may be used by hackers to penetrate a network. So we're actually going to just perform a basic scan. Waiting for this to load here. So let's this up here. Open right up. Here it is. All right, should load here in a second for me to log in. We finally got everything loaded. Now it's being logged in. All right. And by default, of course, it'll have us on the dashboard for any scans that have been done. So I'm actually going to take a look at this scan here. And I'm just going to launch it. Okay, that's giving me an issue. That's fine, I'll fix it here. Good. Okay, and actually let me do that before. Perfect. It may take a moment for it to scan. No worries, I'll put you guys on the other side of it. All right, perfect. So now that we know the scan is done because of the check mark that took place since I launched it, I'm actually going to take a look inside the scan to see everything that is found. So you can see the multitude of scans, a multitude of things that were found during the scan as far as vulnerabilities, the notes and history, uh, the severity of the vulnerabilities that were found. Actually, take a look. Speaking of it, take a look there. And then the port scanners. Interesting. All right, it looks like it just looks like it has the results that have been scanned for vulnerabilities here. What it was. Okay. Provide on the host. On the local subnet, Nessus from over Ethernet. Thing. Some host is up. I'm just reading over it. Let's see. Take a look at history. So the last scan that was ran and then the one I just completed as far as the scan. So now what we're going to do is actually run my own. So let's see here. I'm going to do an advanced scan. And then let me take a look here. You know, there, target. So let's go to content. Take a out window. Scroll over here. Password. That's what we want. All right. Everything else looks pretty good. I'm going to hit save. It's not going to launch the scan. It's just going to save everything that I want within the scan. And I'm going to launch it here. Perfect. Now, every time I run a new scan, it usually takes a while. This didn't take as long as far as the initial ones because it already done a scan. So it piggybacked off that last scan. But now with my modifications as far as my settings, for my scan, it may be a bit more thorough than the previous one. So I'll put you guys on the other side of this because it may take a while. All right, so the scan is finally completed, and it took quite some time. So I'm just going to click here to take a look at what it found in the scan. Go here, perfect. So we found actually 71 vulnerabilities. Let's click here. Couple vulnerabilities. Actually, let's click on this one here. So an attacker can exploit this to route packets through the host, potentially bypass some firewalls and routing NAC filtering, unless the remote host is routed, is recommended you just disable the IP forwarding. All right, so now that we see the details of the vulnerability and how a potential threat actor can exploit it, right? So I'm actually going to take a look at also, let's see, severity, version, the CPSS score, 0.5. Not crazy, but definitely not where you want to be. Base score 5.8, that's not too bad, right? All right, so let's actually take a look. So just gonna go ahead and save the reports. Now, the ability to provide an audit trail and review any issues is crucial, right? So these files actually might need to be passed to another member of the team or to someone to implement certain controls to fix this. Now, if out of the original scanner's remit, like for example, like a cyber professional passing on information to a team of developers, right? So I'm just going to save the report here. So let me go back. Export. That's it. And just save file, right? All right, perfect. All right, so now we can move on to our next exercise, which is actually going to be using OpenVAS, which is the Open Vulnerability Assessment System. It's just an older version of Nessus, right? Formerly known as Nessus. And it's a free tool, and it's quite comprehensive actually in the scanning techniques, as well as assisting in finding more vulnerabilities, of course. And it can be used in conjunction with other Kali tools to help like pen test environments more efficiently. So I'm just going to actually swivel over to this server here so we can take a look. Loading in just a second. All right, now to use OpenVAS, we're just going to, before I start using, I'm going to actually need to start the service before. So I'm going to open it from the command prompt here. So let's see, not the command prompt, but the dashboard. All right, so I'm just waiting for it to load here. Just take a minute or so to initialize the process, right? I'll put you guys on the other side of it, just in case it takes a bit longer than anticipated. All right, so we finally got it loaded here. So let's move forward. So the website just auto-populates once it's towards the end of this. What you see behind here, right here is all loaded. And then it automatically auto-populates the browser for it to finish opening up. So I'm just going to add the exception and confirm it. I'm just going to log in here. All right, perfect. So now I'm at the front page, right, of the Greenbow Security Assistant. So even though it has an error right here for the security information database, we can ignore that. But there are quite a few options on this page, right? So we can see the dashboard, which displays the information about vulnerabilities. We got the scan tab, use to set a new task. It also shows results and reports. So we also have the asset tab, right, which is used for monitoring, presenting a list of hosts where scans can be performed. So we have the sec info, which is used to organize vulnerability databases. The configuration tab, which also displays information about alerts, schedules, filters, and tags, right? Then we have the extras tab, which is allows for web UI configuration. And it also contains a link for the CVSS calculator, which is very, very important, right? Then we have the administration tab. It just allows us to, or is used to organize users groups, Radius and LDAP. And right, then it help tab, exactly what it sounds like, provide some useful hints and tips on everything else. So now we're going to be able to open OpenVAS or to use OpenVAS, right? And it can't be used without a user having much knowledge on vulnerabilities to look for specifically, because it attempts multiple attacks compiled from different sources, right? So now I'm just going to take a look at it. Let's take a look here to support this first. Got to get familiarized with the scanner. I'll just take a look around here and let's see what this looks like here. Okay, so it really just shows a brief review of the list. It shows the ports of the Nmap scanner, right, that it'll check against at least. And it just looks like it's designed against the Nmap version 5.1, well, 5.51, right? It looks like it's an invasive scan, right, as it takes place on all the TCP ports. For looks like 65535 here, that focuses on the UDP ports, which are more selectively chosen at to a total of 999, right? But UDP port scanning can actually take a while, take a bit longer to complete. So knowing which ports are important can be most definitely a great time saver. So I'm actually going to go back to configuration and we can scan some configuration. All right, so these, right, are scanning types that are installed by default in OpenVAS. And when we perform a scan, we're likely to choose one of the listed scans. However, it is possible to include customized scans in OpenVAS as well. So I'm just going to take a look at this one here. All right. Oh, wow. Quite a bit here. So the scan is actually very intrusive, as you can see from the long list here. And it provides a great deal of depth because of that. So it looks for a very wide range of faults, and some of which might not be useful to depending on the device being scanned. Like for example, let's see, like this scan, right, against Cisco or Amazon Linux, right? Those security checks. If we know the network has multiple fixed devices with these services, right, then this type of scan can be very productive, of course, and understanding the network and the device scope is also important to maintaining like useful types of scans and results, of course. So let's actually go back and we're actually going to create our own scan. Going fast. No, before we do that, actually, let's take a look at this. So it's similar to the other one, as the name would suggest, right? So it's just quicker on the performance level and just have multiple tests for like buffer overflow, right, and multiple OS. I believe goes down here for multiple OS and Windows, of course, also as well. Let's see Windows here at the bottom. Now let's see. They also have looks like preferences here, which is good. So within this area, we can actually see multiple tests used against like secure shell, LDAP services. All right. And can just, we can also review these just to have a better understanding of the type of tests that you probably should perform. I'm actually going to look for a particular test I saw before. I think I just went past it. Here it is. Yep. Good. All right, perfect. So we can see a few things on this one, right? So first we can verify the family. right, that the vulnerability belongs to, which is IT grunge shuts. So it sounds like, I believe, if I remember correctly, sounds like a German agency, I believe it is, that specializes in security, and the authors of locating this vulnerability, of course, as we can see here. We can also see the current value, right, and the default value that it has been assigned to test against, right? So now we're just going to do some scanning, because OpenVAS has multiple options to perform scans on a web application like this. So I actually perform a scanning procedure. So let's see here. Get this guy out the way. Next task here. Do actually and this should be good. All right. Everything else is pretty much okay. I'm just gonna leave for the default. All right, so there's officially a star generated the task, and we can see from the orange color here that it has been requested, right? So this one takes the longest, if I remember correctly, as far as the scan. I think if I refresh this, and it may show that it started at 1%. Yeah, sometimes it can take a while. So I'll put you guys on the other side of when the scan is finished so we can actually take a look at the report and the results of what was found. All right, so the scanning is done, finally. So the report is generated and presented on the dashboard here, as you can see. And I'm actually going to click it so I can take a look at a bit more detail. So now we can see more breakdown of the results, right? Mainly referring to the date, right? And the scanner type, right? I'm gonna type here, right? And also, which in this case, the OpenVAS default type is usually the full with fast scan. But let's see, let's take a look at the report itself. All right, so this is actually, let's see, a slightly more detailed breakdown, like where you're talking about high, medium, and low, logs, false positives, and things in the nature to be considered and confirm. And we're also provided with the log output, which might contain useful logs. That's about 24 here. However, it takes a lot to look over sometimes to hold information about possible vulnerabilities, which are yet undiscovered, unfortunately. But remember, it's possible that some of the results could hold false positives, which is what we have potentially here. Looks like there aren't any so far, so we're actually good on at least the false positives. Let's take a look at the results, or at least what could be causing the results that we have, right? So it looks like there's two results. There's like one that's 10 out of 10, pretty much as highest on the scale, right? And then there's a medium one here. And of course, in an enterprise environment, we would worry about that 10 out of 10, which means it may be actively being exploited in the wild currently, and that's the top priority as far as what we need to take a look at. But this is the end of the video right now for infrastructure vulnerability scanners. And in the next video, what we're going to do is talk about enumeration in our next video, and I'll see you there.